Hey, John, if you could email me his phone number, at least I'd have a contact information for him. Because I don't have any way to get a hold of him.
Okay, I could give it to you right now. You want to take it?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, 501-782-1100.
And John, if Skip has problems with that connection, we could hear him just fine with him talking to you. So worst case, you can just lay your phone down and let him do the meeting.
I'll do that. Okay, let's see if he can check in.
Hi, Joan.
Yeah, hi. Oh, Joan. Okay.
Skip, can you hear me?
Yeah,
You're in.
all right.
All right. Well, then it sounds like we have all of the members connected one way or another.
Right.
So I'd like to call to order I'm reluctant to call this the regular or scheduled meeting because it's a different time and a different method than we're using. Oh, Brian is just signing in too.
Well, that's actually at the whack here, and let's call that Joan, not Brian.
Well,
So what I've done is I've shared a screen for the financial accounts payable. Can you see that?
yes.
Okay. But first, I guess we have to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah, we might just see if we got the meeting initiated, and I guess we have. And so I don't, unfortunately, have a copy of the agenda, so we'll just go through the format from our agenda. And then the first part is the consent agenda, which is the review of the minutes from the previous meeting. And Joan sent those out on the internet.
Correct. It was
Sometime.
last month. Last month there was no meeting. So in the
Well, that's the February meeting, isn't it, Joan?
right. Did you get that?
I got
it in the same email.
You talking about the agenda?
No, the agenda,
No.
the meeting minutes.
It was in the minutes that she's talking about.
Didn't we do the minutes before we do the treasures?
I have it here.
Yeah, I got the minutes.
Okay.
I'm good with those. Yep.
So what would you like me to do?
So Herb, I think we just want to see if the board is ready to approve the consent agenda for the meetings of March 26th.
There was no meeting.
I was looking at this agenda. It said March 20. I guess
Yeah,
it's February
yeah.
20. Yeah.
It was in February.
Okay,
So I just wrote it wrong.
okay.
So everyone's in receipt of the minutes, Herb. If
Right. I just sent them out this afternoon, so if you haven't had time to review them, we could do it next time.
Well, maybe until we get,
I've looked at them and I think that they're okay. And we
I'll
ought to
take that.
approve, the budget, the papers that we received from Joan.
Okay, but I will note, okay, Pam, do you make a motion to approve the February minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll second the motion,
And
John
John's-
Landon.
now I'm not sure how we're going to do the voting on this. This is just a verbal, I guess.
so,
Um,
Herb, what I can do is I can just go down the board and you guys can say A or nay. How's that?
That's helpful. Thank you.
Let's see. Skip,
Yay.
Joan,
Yay.
Pam,
yay.
John,
Aye.
Herb.
Yay. Or
Yay.
So-
Excuse me.
Motion passed.
Term. I'm sorry.
We
all
need
right, so it passed
practice.
unanimously. by the board members.
And Mr. Chairman,
Um,
the next item on the agenda is financial reports, accounts payable.
Okay, I'd like to just note that we have not seen the minutes for January yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, Eric is still working on that.
Okay.
We've got a little behind. Okay, so now we're looking at the accounts payable. We had two checks this time, Lane Electric and LB Office Work, which is the bookkeeper's personal, her new business.
I move the payment of the accounts payable as listed on this sheet.
Is
Second,
there a second?
Pam, second.
Okay, Brian, do you want to run through our list for us?
I do. Herb,
Yes.
John,
Aye, yes.
Pam,
Yes,
Joan,
Yes,
and Skip.
yes,
Very good. Motion passes.
Okay, passes unanimously by all of the board members.
Next,
Okay,
if you give me a minute, I'll get the financial report up so we can look at it.
thank you.
Whoop, there's the minutes. Sorry about that.
I'm gonna have to do something.
Revenues and expenditures.
okay, this is the March financial report through March 30th. And this shows all of the income and expenditures in the general fund through March. Okay, so you'll note that the budget for the year is shown in the budget column. And then very first column of figures is the actual income and expenditures. So the budget for the annual budget, 156,000 revenue, and we have exceeded that through March. So we're doing very well, and tax revenue is dwindling on a monthly basis. So, if there's another 5 or 10,000, that would be good. We still have not done our interfund transfers, and I would like to advise that we do that next month instead of waiting until June. And the reason is June gets so complicated with so many other things to do with the budget that it would just, we have the money, we can't do more, and that we should try to do our motion with our transfers of our budget to our funds.
You're talking about from the general fund
General fund
to the reserve fund.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have to do that in resolutions.
Right.
Right, and so complicated that it just,
So we need to get the resolutions written up for
Right.
next
I would
month.
recommend doing it early. Okay, and then our expenses in the general fund, capital outlay, none, it's budgeted for 131, those would be our transfers. And then the $140,000 that you see in the budget column is total budget for materials and services. We've only spent $43,700 to date. We still have the final approximately $30,000 to the city of Oak Ridge in June. Some other things that we're short and haven't spent, volunteer program. I don't know if that's something that we would be doing at this time. Normally, we've had an ongoing contribution to the city
Right.
for their volunteer program. of $15,000.
When does that usually happen, Eric? Do you remember?
I don't remember, did the city give an invoice to Hazeldell for that, or?
You know, at one time they did, but I don't have something to cover it and say, this is, it'd
I
be
mean-
good if there's an invoice.
I'll have
Yeah.
Jackie cut an invoice for the volunteer
Yeah,
program.
because then you've got something to back up.
You want to pay it
on.
all in one chunk, right?
The one shot,
Okay.
15,000. Right, and then other things that we're short on expenditures is vehicle repair and maintenance, and nothing there because,
I haven't been scheduling maintenance right now, just because we've been a little busy. I do have an engine that I need to take in, so that will be happening. Also, we've been holding off we budget to purchase 5 sets of turnouts. Those are on order.
Okay.
They are on order. They're just not here yet. And there's some other things that are budgeted to go and purchase. I wanted to talk to the board and find out how do we, how's the best way for, there's some of the things are pretty simple that I can run down and get for our fire investigation kit and stuff like that we approved last year. The question is do you just want me to pay for it out of pocket and reimburse me? Or, because we don't have a Hazeldell credit card. I do have a city credit card, but then you'd have to reimburse the city for
and
that.
these are items that they don't bill us later. I mean, I guess it's with.
Small consumables?
contract.
Yeah, there's small consumable supplies.
Okay,
You know, it's less than $1,000, but
You want a reimbursable
I guess we should reimburse them.
with receipts? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
has to wait till payday.
Okay, so that would make up a significant chunk of the under budget. It's just been a strange year. Okay,
We need to make that into a motion to pay for Eric.
No, not until I turn in the receipt. You wouldn't need to make a motion until, because it'll be a.
Okay.
right. I think it's if it's in a normal budget, those items are budgeted, that he should be able to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And at that point, if we choose that wasn't something we, maybe he could be doing it.
Either that or the Oak Ridge Fire Department will.
Yeah, I don't know what those items are, but, okay. So that's it on about that report.
Okay.
What else did I give you? Oh, reconciliation detail is the next one. That just shows the bank account. I didn't choose to give everybody all the bank accounts and everything like that, because this just tells exactly what happened. This is the Banner Bank reconciliation worksheet. This shows the beginning balance, 11,400. Then payments. Then it's going to show you what the cleared balance was at the end of March. Checks that have cleared it and deposits that have cleared it. So you see cleared transactions. Those are prior checks that were presented for payment in March. Deposits, 3 items. The $234 of deposit is the SDIS refund. That is our, we get a 2-year, signed an agreement with them that we would, a rate lock agreement, and then we would get a certain portion of our, in return. And that's the amount that we get over 2 years, this year and next year. So, so I had that credit against our expenses for insurance. The auditor said that was all right. All right, so then the balance, cleared balance 10,000, and then additional uncleared transactions of 1,500 that did not show up in the bank balance at that time. So for a balance of registered balance of $9,884, and then it shows the new transactions that have drawn down the balance. Okay, and then yay! Everybody say yay! We have a balance.
Yay!
We have a balance sheet that works. This is, finally when the auditor and worked with the bookkeeper, and the auditor had to do some things, and all the things that weren't correctly, of our assets that were not shown correctly are now shown correctly. So at the end of March, we know that local LGIP has those amounts for general fund, land and facilities, and vehicle fund.
Very good, Joan. Thank you.
Believe me, it's been very difficult for me to work without having this. It's felt very unsettling in my life.
A long time coming.
It has been, and I'm very grateful for the auditor's help and the bookkeeper and doing extra work to get this done. All right.
Next is the auditor reports. Is there any paper that goes along with that, or is that just a discussion?
No, we sent out all the audit reports before. We just never had a chance to talk about it. This is the audit report.
Right.
Pull yours out if you want to read along. Well, I'm not going to read it. It's just that the audit was completed and they sent it back to us in late January. And we didn't do anything in our February meeting. It's very abbreviated, and then March we didn't meet. So I just went through it briefly, and the only thing of importance is not in the audit. It was the cover letter in which they sent us a statement just noticing that the bookkeeper had entered a budget change instead of entering it as a budget change. And this is last year, at the very end of the year, when we transferred, we had what are those called? Funds that are unallocated.
Appropriated.
Well, let's see, extra funds. And we had to move them to make a payment to buy a vehicle, something like that. And she, instead of entering in the budget portion of the QuickBooks, she entered it as an actual transaction. And so it messed up things. It was the end of the year, June end, and I just ran out of time in July to work with her to correct it. And I was thinking that the bookkeeper would just help, the auditor would just help make that correction at the end of the year. Well, because the audit took so long, it was, until January that we actually got it. So it never got corrected in prior year books. So the auditor is just saying, okay, please make sure they do this correctly next time. It's kind of it's a little ding on us, but it's not in the report itself, and it didn't go against us with a state or anything else. So that's good. And I don't know if anyone had any other questions about the audit. There's several pages that I thought, a lot of the pages are presenting our financial transactions for the year at a much higher level than we're used to seeing at a granular level. So, but there were two pages that I noted where we can see things how we're used to seeing it.
Joan,
Pardon?
are those books down at the station? Because I have not seen the audit.
Yeah, they should have been in your, put them in your box, if you weren't at that.
Okay.
I think
All
we
right,
got it
thank
about
you.
I think we got it about 2 or 3 meetings ago.
Right,
Well,
I'm
I
trying to
haven't been
find-
for a while.
right. It would have been in February.
Well,
Yeah.
I wasn't there in January, so.
I know, Pam. I know. Okay, so let's see, the two pages that I thought were helpful.
Joan, in my review, I didn't see any recommendation that they gave to our system. Did you note anything like that in your review?
In the report itself, no, there was no recommendation. There was no problem with
Okay.
books. It was only in the letter in which they transmitted the report to us, and I included that copy of that letter in everyone's here.
Oh, okay.
So the two pages to note where you can really see what happened at the end of the year are page 3 which shows the breakdown of general fund, vehicle fund, and land facilities fund at the end of the year. And page 19, I thought that was relevant because it actually shows the budget amounts for our materials and services, final and original, and then the actual amounts.
I've got the letter in front of me in case you all don't have it. And the only thing they recommended, they talked about the fact that the bookkeeper entered a budget change as an actual transaction that had to be backed out of the trial balance. Whenever there is a chance in the budget
The
change
that's supposed to be a
in the
change.
budget, it must be changed in the budget module of QuickBooks. The bookkeeper should be informed of the proper procedure for making a change to the budget, lest the financial reports for the board of the directors become confusing. Did you discuss that with her, John?
I did just discuss
Okay,
that.
good, thanks. That's good.
Okay. Any further questions?
All right.
Any questions? Okay.
And these are reviews, they're not audits. You got to keep that in mind. Audits cost us much more.
Right.
Good, okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, if there are no further questions on the audit, the next item is recognition and public comment. And I will tell you that there's no public dialed into the conference and no one in person here at the WAC. So,
All right.
okay, next item would be old business.
Well, the only old business I can think about is our roofer is still roofing. He's finished. We paid him $450 for one side. I forget whether it's north or south, and partial on the opposite side. And he's still got a little more work to do. And then I asked him, what about Oak Ridge Fire Station? And he said he'd get into that after. So Eric, I guess that's something you're going to have to follow up at least while we got good weather and he's have a couple of months to do it in.
Okay.
And that's the only thing I can think of in old business.
Okay. Next item is new business. One item on the agenda, and that's appointment of a budget officer. So as I spoke with Herb earlier, but Eric and I will be tied at the hip in the development of this, but I'd like to make myself the budget officer just for union purposes. I don't think I'm overtasking Eric. That would be my request if the board is amenable to that.
To do what? I didn't quite follow.
The budget officer.
He designated the budget officer for the next year's budget development.
Okay. Isn't that what we usually do?
I make a motion that we have Brian be the designated budget officer.
All right. That's what I understood we discussed before. A second.
Yeah.
Okay, and if we are ready for a vote, Pam,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Herb,
Yes.
Skip,
yes,
and Joan.
Yes.
Unanimous. Next item is the fire chief's report. First one is the activity report. Do you have anything, Eric?
So we've been fairly busy just trying to stay on top of COVID-19 responses. Just trying to keep everybody healthy. We've locked down the fire station, so it's closed to the general public, and making sure that we wear proper PPE when we our protective gear when we go on those kinds of calls. And I'm sorry I don't have an activity report for you right now. This is actually my last day on days. So next week I go back to shift work. So I will not be at the station Monday through Friday. That's the only other new news that we have.
Eric, does the crew have all of the appropriate personal protective equipment they need?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I was going to speak to that a little bit. The kind of the overall arching, I had an inventory, all the PPE we had. We found out how much we had, which was not a great supply, but adequate for what we're doing. The people at the county, they stood up a emergency operations center that's run by actually it's run by Oregon Health, but also sort of the backbone of it's under the emergency management people. And they actually have a supply of PPE for if you get to a critical state, you would put in a request and they would give you the required PPE. And
That's good to hear.
yeah, Lane Health has developed certain protocols on how you deal with a COVID type call. The dispatch has been told that if they get a call to go to a house that they know has a COVID type patient, that they're supposed to tell the folks, the fire and paramedics, so they can make sure they don the right gear for a COVID incident. So it's been pretty well managed by the county from my perspective, and they actually have started to cut back on the hours of the Emergency Operations Center, and they're kind of shifted into a maintenance / reopening phase, if you can believe it, which I don't know if you all have seen the governor's reopening slides, but she has certain criteria you have to meet in order to reopen. And a part of it is hospital capability, part of it is flattening the curve, part of it is the ability to, how many flu-like symptoms you present, which I didn't quite understand. But there's a whole 3 different phases and criteria to enter each stage. So that's what you should expect in the future to try to get, as we try to get back to normal.
I heard over the radio that McKinsey Willamette has sponsored or some relationship a drive-through testing program, and it was not clear as to how you get into that. I'm sure you have to go through your care physician. What about testing? Have you all heard anything about the plans that they have for that? Because I don't think we could go with any assurance to a phase that's meets the requirements until you have a full a testing program in operation and a tracing program to go with it. Have you all heard anything about that in Lane County?
They did mention that in the governor's reopening brief, is that one of the criteria is adequate testing capability, first for hospital staff and first responders, but also a somewhat less capability for the public. What I have heard is that the testing, you would only get a test if you presented symptoms, the right symptoms for COVID. It's not going to be one of these things where you test the entire town. I did ask the question of the Emergency Operations Center. We're a rural community. We're 1 hour away from a testing facility, really, even though you could get a test done at one of the 2 clinics in town. However, it's not the immediate test. They have to send it out and get it back. And you obviously need to be able to present, and they actually need a physician to first test you for the flu, and then they would authorize you to test if you presented the right symptoms. But I did ask the health department if they ever thought of a mobile testing site for a rural type community like Oak Ridge, and they were not too excited about that idea. As it stands now, it's just if you present symptoms, our first responders can go check and see, the temperature and all that kind of thing, and then you would go from there. If you were ill enough, you would, either get yourself or get transported to a facility in town.
I see. Now, the other concern that I have, I think I discussed this with you, Brian, is I view maybe this is unfair, I view the grocery store, the post office, and the drugstores as poison wells, if you will. That's just my expression. That's not fair at all. But I've noticed that Ray's has become a little more active in having all of their people wear masks. And I talked to Bob, the manager, the other day, and he did say that he ordered a lot of masks, and he's required that his people use them. And then I talked to Kathy Holston, and she said that Dollar General was not too responsive to wearing masks, and a lot of their people were without masks. And what I'm concerned about is, picking up the germs or the virus in those doors when you go in to shop, and that could have a serious repercussion on the whole populace here. Well, that's
I kind of concur with your observation there, and I did hear from more than one person that they were concerned about Dollar General. I think the other places have done a pretty good job. I know the pharmacy restricts the number of people in the
Yes.
pharmacy, and everyone else has a pretty good routine set up. Dollar General, that's one thing, is the face mask on employees, and the other is just some of the other, like Ray's, I think, has tried to make more floor space to allow more distancing. So as a result, if you read the governor's order, they encourage these places to comply with distancing. So it's not real strong language, but I did ask Chief Martin to go pay them a friendly visit and talk with the manager and further impress on them what exactly is expected or encouraged. And we'll see if that has an impact. If it doesn't, then we'll continue to probably go up the corporate ladder and see if we can get compliance. The chief mentioned that on his visit, the store manager appeared like a deer in the headlights. So we'll see how. We're going to check them in a couple of days and see where we go from there.
What was that?
I appreciate your action on that, Brian, because it's going to take constant. It's going to take constant bumping in order to keep it going.
Yeah, in addition, we had to make a couple calls on outdoor dining. So just, you're not even supposed to sit at outside tables and have food for takeout. So we have made a couple more friendly calls in that regard too.
I have one other.
My experience.
Yes, go ahead.
Sharon was shopping at Ray's this morning, and they do open an hour earlier for seniors. And there was good spacing and good sanitation. They've been wiping stuff down with these Clorox or whatever they are. She had a very good experience there. There wasn't a very high density of customers, and that they were working pretty aggressive at making it a safe environment. So our experience has been pretty favorable at Ray's.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Ray's. Like I said, the only weakness I've seen is Dollar General.
Yeah.
Well, that's encouraging to hear that, Herb. That's all I have.
Okay. The second thing on the fire chief's report is equipment readiness. Do you have any issues on that, Eric?
Just for general information, next week, Tuesday, is the A1 hose will be down to test all of our hose and pumps. And ladders. So next, either tomorrow or Monday, I'll be up to get the 2 engines and all the hose that's at Hazeldell Station, bring it down to Oak Ridge Station to get everything tested on Tuesday. And then we'll get it shipped back up there.
That's good. Have we run any of that equipment during this downtime, Eric, or do we plan to run it?
Some, yes, and others, I'm not 100% sure how much we've been able to get up to Hazeldell on Fridays. Right now, our staffing has been fluctuating, so Fridays are supposed to be our days that we send somebody up to Hazeldell. So I'm off tomorrow, so hopefully I can run up there tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
There's no other questions there. Mr. Chairman, it's director's report is next.
I have nothing. Joan?
I
you got
have
anything?
nothing.
Oh, I have something. I have something. I had an email from the our insurance agent regarding renewal of our workers' compensation policy for the coming year. And I needed, by last Friday, I just opened it and I needed to get it in right away. So it was just ensuring that we were only covering our board members for workers' compensation. So I said that, but because we had been talking about Dennis Bird working in a volunteer capacity for the fire department, I thought that I would ask him certain questions about that. So I just kind of asked him about that. Could we add someone for coverage during the mid-year? And the answer is yes. But there's so many rules by SDIS or about the insurance. Apparently they sent like 20 pages to Rex LeSueur, our agent. And so he just said in the email, highlighted what we needed to know. He thought we needed to know. But there is two types of volunteers: public safety officers or other volunteers for other duties, other than administration and clerical. So other volunteers are public safety. So I don't know what category he would be, but we need to think about this at the time that he retires and would like to do something for us. First of all, we want to make sure that he doesn't do anything before we provide coverage for him, because we wouldn't want to have something to happen and then not have coverage, and then there's a lawsuit or something like that. So we have to do it all as our insurance says. So there is a way to cover him, but we don't know what he's doing yet. We need to, and I don't know what he has done in the past.
I thought that we had him covered because he is up there so much.
So if you're talking about a volunteer, the city of Oak Ridge already covers all of our volunteers for workman's comp. So I don't know if he became a volunteer for the organization, he would be covered through the city's insurance.
He's not a I don't know how you want to handle this. He's not a registered volunteer and goes through training. He's more of a maintenance person for the station up there, or has been. Now, I don't know whether that relationship's going to continue, because he's nearing retirement. And I could talk to him if you all wish, and or Eric, maybe you could talk to him. It's whatever you wish me to do, I'll be happy to do it.
Well, why don't we have Eric reach out and see, what his intentions are. There's no reason he can't be a volunteer for Oak Ridge Fire Department and be assigned the responsibility of maintenance up at Hazeldell and fall under our insurance umbrella instead of having to open up.
That would be easy. Yeah, that would be great.
But we could do it under our coverage as well, and it wouldn't cost that much if somehow what he was going to do didn't quite fit into your volunteer categories.
It's really general. I mean, it even includes our volunteers we have guys that are volunteering clearing the OIP, and they're covered as well. So it's a matter of, I don't think it'll be a problem because he's doing something different to get covered by Oak Ridge policy.
Okay. All right. Well, I was only, thinking ahead about that and want to make sure that he wasn't doing something where he wasn't covered. And
right.
That,
Understand. Yes.
Something fell on him or.
It's a concern.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is make sure with Rex that he would be covered under our policy. How's that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any more director reports?
Well, as the chairman of the board, I'd like to make sure that we are appreciative and respectful of Brian, that you were running the meeting for us today, and you and Eric setting this whole thing up so that we can make this technology work for us. Can see it's stressful at times in terms of being, at least for me, in terms of hearing clearly, and it is functioning for us. It's meeting our need way better than getting together in a meeting for sure. Hopefully we'll be back to something more, whatever that normal is going to be. But I appreciate your help, Brian and Eric, both of you. Thank you.
Yes, I agree.
Well, thank you. And I think it's important to stay, continuing the drumbeat and not just sort of lapse into not meeting and keeping up with everything. So
Yeah.
it's, I know it's a learning curve and a growth thing that to learn this, believe me, from personal experience, but I appreciate the board being willing to do this. So, and Mr. Chairman, you have a chair report and adjournment. So as you wish.
Let's adjourn.
One last thing, Skip,
Yeah.
every time I send you an email, it comes back to me, so I will call you probably tomorrow or sometime and just make sure I have your right email address, because everything I've been sending you keeps on getting bumped back to me.
Skip.
Oh, okay.
Skip, the Boots Back email is bouncing back, and that's the one that everybody, we have you officially listed with that, with other organizations as well. So
Okay.
you need to make sure that's still good or give us another one.
All right.
All righty. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. You're signing off, everybody. Nice to see your happy faces.
If we can have a motion, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second
Second.
the motion. Those in favor, say aye by aye, and let's do it.
Yay.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Night. Bye.
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 Good night. Night.